Hello and welcome back, YouTube. It's Wednesday night. No, it's Tuesday night. I got my iPhone in my left hand where I can look at the date and the time and the day. And I had it open, ready to check that, and straight up forgot what day it was. Yeah, it's going to be a good night, I can tell already. So
the law requires that the execution be carried out.
Does Governor Hobbs have the authority to stop
like I was waiting for me to go straight because I did not have my left blinker on. Whoops.
You can't let the river crash.
In an exclusive interview with KTAR, Senator Mark Kelly says he will not let the Colorado River water system crash. And you're going to hear what a Valley nonprofit is doing to help some single moms. All that coming up right after we get you home. To help out, Chuck Rowe with the Valley.
So much help for single moms and nobody wanting to help single dads. How does nobody else see that is sexist? All right, so it's Tuesday, March 14th, 2023. Is it March 14th St. Patrick's Day, or is that March 17th? I don't know. And in spite of being part Irish, that's a holiday that's never particularly mattered to me unless I'm working at a bar that night and it's going to make it busy. But I don't see that being a thing on Tuesday. Anyway, if you heard on the news, it was 6:30. This guy walking right down the middle of the street, which can't really say too much about that because this street has no sidewalks. Come on, City of Phoenix, put some sidewalks on 46th Street. A lot of pedestrian traffic on this street compared to other Phoenix City streets. Dude, we could really use some sidewalks here. Oh, this is a big story.
To carry out an execution warrant. KTAR's Luke Forstner has the story.
Well, Becky, Governor Hobbs had already ordered a review of Arizona's death penalty process, so she chose not to proceed with the execution of Aaron Gunches, who was found guilty in 2004 of murdering his girlfriend's ex-husband. County Attorney Rachel Mitchell tells the Gatos and Chad show she disagrees with that decision.
A warrant of execution has been issued by the Arizona Supreme Court. This individual has exhausted his appeal, and the law requires that the execution be carried out.
And Mitchell says she hasn't found any issues with previous executions, despite Governor Hobbs' investigations.
I respect the desire to make sure that things are handled appropriately, but what I saw was a process that in no way was inappropriate or painful.
So Mitchell has joined a brief asking the state Supreme Court to intervene.
There's a Victims' Bill of Rights in Arizona, and they have a right to resolution of a case, and in this situation, it's appropriate.
The execution is scheduled for April 6th. Luke Forstner, KTAR News.
KTAR News, eyes on education.
Northern Arizona University is...
So that's a really, really big story. I'm surprised that they didn't go into it more in depth right now, but did quite a bit of driving this morning. I wasn't vlogging this morning, but after work, which feels like yesterday because, you know, working graveyards, my days are kind of flip-flopped, and the morning is the end of my day, the day before. Anyway, yeah, it was did quite a bit of driving around and handled some stuff in the morning, and was listening to KTR most of the time during that time. And that was definitely the hottest story of the morning. They kept giving more and more detail on it, and as well as kind of flashing back to who this person is that's scheduled for execution. So it's a case from only 20 years ago, because it takes a really long time for a capital crime to eventually result in capital punishment. In fact, Most people sit on death row for a very long time. Some of the other notorious people that I can think of just off the top of my head that are still sitting there, whose executions won't come up for a long time, are I think are kind of infamous. At least they are in my head. Jodi Arias, and also Corey Morris, aka the karaoke killer. Now, granted, I have kind of a more personal connection to Corey Morris, but that's another story entirely. I don't want to get sidetracked on that. And I'm sure I've told that story on this vlog before. Anyway, so the current situation, as they kind of summed it briefly, this guy killed his girlfriend's ex-husband. It was a jealousy, lovers triangle, blah, blah, blah. I forget the whole story, but it was very much a premeditated, first-degree murder. He planned it out. He executed it. He took that dude out. Yeah, that's kind of what the death penalty is there for. Now, I don't recall if there were any other victims. Usually, I know a lot of times, those that are on death row have multiple victims, such as Corey Morris. I don't think anybody even knows how many victims that guy has. Which is kind of what you end up happening when you prey on people that are kind of forgotten, such as he did. But again, I'm not trying to talk about him. I'm trying to talk about the guy that's currently up for execution. So, anyway, this guy's very much at peace with what he's done. He admitted it. It's not like one of those situations where he was found guilty on circumstantial evidence or any evidence whatsoever. I mean, the evidence was all pretty open and shut that he did it, and he completely freely admitted it. He's like, yeah, blah, 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 I did that. I just enraged. I did it. Sorry, my bad. I'll pay the price for it. So, anyway, sorry, I'm checking my traffic view on my iPhone right now. Yeah, I am shooting video on the Obamaphone 3 right now, by the way. And since I've gone down McDowell, traffic changed. Yeah, I was just going down 46th Street and headed for the 143 as per always. After I had looked at the traffic before I started recording and decided that I was going to drive down Oak. I don't know, once I got to the intersection and just like blah, 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 pilot going south. It made it as far as made a U-turn. If it wasn't for all that traffic in the lane trying to go south on the 143 and the 202, I would have probably got stuck in that traffic jam. Which, looking at the traffic view, would be pretty bad, although not as bad as it was when I was leaving my street. Anyway, they're talking about the bank collapses again. Yeah, there's plenty of people talking about the bank collapses. I don't have anything additional to contribute to that discussion. Other than I bank at Chase and Wells Fargo, and I've got credit accounts elsewhere. Every place every bank I'm with is one of the ones that are big and evil and terrible, but at least they're solid. So I'm not too worried about Chase or Citibank or Wells Fargo going under. Which just suddenly got me wondering, what happens if a bank that you've got like a credit account with, like that you owe money, goes out under? What happens with that? Everybody's talking about getting their money back, and what happens if the bank is trying to get my money back to them if they go under? I don't know. yeah, I don't have lots of money in the bank. I still have quite a bit of debt. So anyway, trying to focus on this current action. Whoa, that place went out of business. That gray building I just passed on the right has been a strip club for many, many, many years, and it's changed names more times than I can count. But now, yeah, the building looks like it's unoccupied. And that's something my daughter was telling me, is that when she had aspirations of being a stripper in a club like that, she kept telling me that the clubs she was going into were very empty, and that she was hearing from other women who do that business was really hurting in the current economy, which makes sense. I mean, lonely guys that are willing to spend their extra cash going to strip clubs and making it rain to see titties. I don't have a lot of extra cash for that right now. So, all right, the traffic change looks like now if I take 16th Street down to the 10, I'll be good to go pretty much all the way. So, anyway, I'm not focusing on the story about the current guy on death row, am I? But who's not on death row. I mean, he's actually slated for execution. That's actually gone the whole judicial program, like everything. It's gone the whole way. There's been an order for execution put out by the Arizona Supreme Court. Anyway, so this guy not only there's no question of, oh gosh, what if we kill him and he's not really guilty? Like we're executing the wrong person. There's no question of that. This guy there's zero question of this guy's guilt. He freely admits it. And take it one step further, a step that I can't recall any comparable case ever going. This guy wants to die. He's sick of being on death row, waiting for death. And he has, on several occasions, written letters to the courts, written letters to the press, filed motions on his own behalf, asking, like, I don't need these extra steps, because there's all these extra steps that are involved before an execution actually happens. And he's written these things in where he's like, I don't need any extra steps. Like, I did this, I'm guilty, I'm ready to pay the price. Can we get this on with already? I'm sick of waiting. I'll be at peace once I'm at peace. Just shut me off, please. Which is really different, because I mean, now not only do we have somebody that's unquestionably guilty of the capital crime, but he actually wants to die. He wants to be executed. I think at this point, probably the only reason he hasn't committed suicide is because you've got such a solid watch on the people that are on death row that he just can't. I'm just checking the traffic to see if Oh yeah. Do I need to keep my traffic view up anymore? No, I do not. I need to keep my eye on the road though. So yeah, no question as to whether this guy's guilty. No question as to whether this guy actually wants to die. Meanwhile, we got a new state governor, Katie Hobbs. A lot of people still like to say that she stole the election. I don't think she did. In fact, I honestly think that Katie Hobbs was and some people are like, well, she didn't even campaign, she didn't do shit. Yeah, no, I don't feel Katie Hobbs won the election as much as Carrie Lake lost the election. I feel she took a couple of very unpopular stances and just made it to where making attack ads against her were pretty easy, and Arizona voted, and I don't know that they voted for Katie Hobbs as much as they voted against Kari Lake. That said, speaking of Kari Lake, so a couple of years ago, I went to a protest at the Capitol, state Capitol. Not to be confused with the nation's capital, which is a hot topic right now. That protest that happened at the state capitol that Tucker Carlson showed footage of these horrible, terrible protesters being escorted around the Capitol. Yeah, it's free the QAnon shaman, by the way. Anyway, it's not what I'm talking about. Whatever am I talking about, right? So, so I went to this protest. I get a lot of these kind of things in my inbox, in my email, and I rarely have time for them. But at this point in time, I was unemployed. I was looking for work. And though I didn't have a vehicle, I had gotten pretty adept at taking public transit. And it was downtown, which is like the easiest place to get to via public transit. So I went to this protest, and there were a bunch of speeches given. And I probably have the best video footage of these speeches because, and amazingly, I wasn't stopped by any kind of security or anything from doing this, but I was able to climb up in a tree right above, like literally right above the people that were giving the speeches. Not directly above them, but kind of off to the side, but above them. Not drop shit on them above them, but you know what I mean? But point a cell phone directly at them and get amazing quality footage of them above them. And I had completely forgot that one of the people that spoke at that was Kari Lake. Now, I can't remember if I put all the speeches on this channel. I uploaded them on another one of my YouTube channels that I really don't promote, and I did them in such a way that I gave them such a nondescript video title, even though they're publicly available on YouTube. I gave them such nondescript video titles that they haven't gotten any views at all. And anyway, I kind of inadvertently found myself trying to look at this YouTube channel upload page, and ended up looking at that YouTube channel's upload page on the new Obamaphone. So I was trying to get the accounts and everything situated on that. And I'm looking at the thumbnail, I'm like, hold up. Isn't that Kari Lake? So I watched the thing, and sure as shit, I've got this really great recording of a Kari Lake speech with me just feet away from her up in a tree. Yeah, I need to edit that out, get that on this. Just this Kari Lake part, not the whole thing, because it's kind of long and drawn out. But definitely, I gotta get the Kari Lake speech up on this channel. It's pretty cool. It says my viewpoint of it. And this is before she was actively running for governor, so that's notable as well. At least I think it was before she was actively running for governor. She certainly didn't mention anything about running for governor in this particular speech that I recall. Anyway, I'm not focusing on the guy who's slated for death. Anyway, so Katie Hobbs, the new governor, one of the things that she has stated in her campaigning is that she is very against the death penalty, and she's kind of hinted that she'd like to see an end to the death penalty in Arizona. Arizona has always had the death penalty. That goes all the way back to our territorial days. And that's not something that Katie Hobbs can do, or any governor can do. I mean, I think she can pardon people, but she can't she can't just unilaterally end something that's enshrined in our laws and has been for a long, long, long time. That's something that the state legislature needs to do. Anyway, so she's put a stay on all executions due to a previous execution where apparently there was some sort of an issue with the lethal injection chemicals or whatever, and there was signs that the guy that did it experienced pain or whatever. Which kind of reminds me of the scene in the Green Mile where Percy, the masochistic officer that's working there on death row as a result of being the warden's nephew, deliberately doesn't wet the sponge for the electrical chair, which just results in a really grisly sort of execution. And there's a line in there that's always stuck with me. It's a great movie. If you've never seen The Green Mile with Tom Hanks, oh my God, watch that movie. It's long, but it's really, really good. Anyway, people really grossed out because it's not the quick and shocking death that a execution by electric chair is supposed to be. It was really grisly and nasty, and people that are watching it are vomiting and he's writhing around and catching on fire, and it's the guy being executed. And anyway, at one point somebody asks Tom Hanks' character, "What the hell did we just watch?" And his line in that movie has always stuck with me, where he says, "An execution, a successful one." I mean, he just kind of states the obvious. The guy that was in the chair is dead. Mission accomplished. He doesn't say mission accomplished, but you know what I'm saying. So, I mean, there have been a couple of recent executions in Arizona by way of lethal injection where there were some issues with it. It didn't go as smoothly as it should have been, but the bottom line is they were successful executions. And I guess it's all coming back to it all comes back to the constitutional thing of where the United States Constitution prohibits cruel and unusual punishment. To some people, capital punishment is cruel and unusual punishment, full stop. And that's a position I kind of wrestle with myself. I mean, how do you kill to show that killing isn't right? I don't know. That's something I kind of wrestle with in my head. But certainly in this case, this is a pretty unusual case because, I mean, there's no question as to whether the guy was guilty. The guy fully admits it. There's no shortage of evidence of it. And the guy has said, look, I'm back on it
of
again.
Murdering his girlfriend's ex-husband. She tells the Gatos and Chad show she joined a brief filed by the victim's family asking the state Supreme Court to intervene.
There's a victim's bill of rights in Arizona, and they have a right to resolution of a case. And in this,
they're pretty much repeating what was said earlier. So,
the governor decided not to carry out the execution warrant due to her administration's review of the death penalty process. And finally tonight, on this
so that's what the governor is saying is her reason. Like, the order has been put out by the state Supreme Court with a date that this execution is to happen on, and they said the date, I forget, but it's coming up very soon. And then she's like, no, I put a stay on all executions, so I'm not going to carry it out. Now the governor supervises the Department of Corrections. The Department of Corrections handles executions. And she has told the Department of Corrections, no, we're not going to do it. And now there's a lawsuit that's been filed, and the victim has joined in, as well as, well, not the victim because the victim is dead, but the survivors of the victim have put in to it. And as well as some other parties are suing her and basically saying, hey, you don't have the authority as governor to just unilaterally ignore a court order to carry out an execution. And I heard an interview earlier today. Like I said, this was the hot topic on the news this morning while I was running errands. And by the way, I voted today. City of Phoenix runoff election. I damn near forgot about it. If it wasn't for the candidate that I didn't vote for sending me a direct text message yesterday, I would have forgotten all about it. So thanks, guy, I didn't vote for it. Yeah, and of course I didn't really know much running into it, but I heard enough on the radio this morning from KTAR, so it's like, okay, I can Google it from here. And I also desperately needed to get gas, so I stopped at in fact, I didn't really have enough gas to get all the way home, but I ended up stopping at the Costco over by where Chase Cocktails used to be, at like 33rd Avenue and Grand. And it's good to know they open their gas pumps at 6 a.m. I did not know that, so it's good to know that's an option for gas after work if I'm going someplace other than directly home. Or don't have enough gas to get home, as the case was. Oh, wow. Sorry, that just made me think of the fact that I don't have the backlighting behind my gas gauge. And I just noticed that the backlighting is back for all of my speedometer. That's weird. Of course, that means that the problem with the lighting is not a dead bulb, but rather a short in my dashboard, which is a whole other problem that won't be resolved just by replacing a light bulb. Anyway, so yeah, so anyway, I was running the errands, after I got gas, I was able to Google, hey, where do I go to vote? By the way, I went and voted at Burton Bar Central Library. That just was kind of convenient on where I was going and route I would be taking there. And the other thing I did is and this is why I got so much news this morning, is after I was done with that, it was just so nice and cool outside. I went, and it ended up being about, after that I got my Sip and Save drink, and it ended up being about 7 a.m. at that time, so I just went to my storage and worked on recycling for about an hour and a half, which is the most time I spent on it in a long time, just because the weather was just so nice. It's nice and cool this morning. So yeah, drove over there, handled that, listening to KTAR on my car stereo, and so I heard a lot more in-depth coverage of the situation of the governor refusing to carry out this execution order, and I'm getting that parking spot right there. Nice. Anyway, I'm definitely keeping my eyes on this case. This is interesting because it ultimately will answer the question on the balance of power between the executive branch of the government here in Arizona and the judicial branch. Because this has already gone all the way through the judicial branch, and the Supreme Court of the state of Arizona has put out the execution order. And the governor's basically saying no, and there's a lot of people that are speculating that, Katie Hobbs is just anti-death penalty. She's just using this as a way to try to eliminate the death penalty during her, they're supposedly reviewing the thing, but the bottom line, it looks like she's just using this as a way to put a hold on all executions while she's governor, and she doesn't really have the authority to do that. Anyway, it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. Don't really have anything more to say on the subject other than it is 7 o'clock straight up, so I need to get my ass in the building before my 5 minutes grace period runs out. Thanks for coming with me on the drive, and thanks for watching.